We are live on YouTube. It's the Sick Podcast, Jets Flight Club. And once again, the Jets make us want to be part of a fight club. They want us to beat up everyone on this coaching staff. They want us to beat up everyone on this offensive line. The Jets fall to 2-3. They lose to Sam Darnold and the Vikings. Sam Darnold playing like he did with the Jets, yet the Jets still can't win because of the horrible start that they got off to in this game. And we'll talk about it on a live episode of Jets Flight Club coming up next.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Jets Fight Club. The sickest New York Jets podcast. It's gonna be sick.
What else do you say? What else can you say about this horrifically coached Jets team, about this team that continues to find ways to lose football games? I'm sick and tired of it. Every year, Zach Wilson at quarterback, Tim Boyle at quarterback, a Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. A year that ends in a number means the Jets will be futile in the last 14 years of the longest playoff drought in sports. This is the Sick Podcast, Jets Flight Club. I'm Jake Brown at Jake Brown Radio. Subscribe to my YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube, youtube.com/@the-sick-podcast. Jets Flight Club. Smash that thumbs up right now if you're watching on YouTube. Comment below. I'll be reading your comments live on the show. Come join the party. It's really not a party. It should be a funeral for the jobs of Robert Saleh and Nathaniel Hackett, but they'll come up with some excuse. They'll say it was raining in London. They'll say the field conditions weren't nearly enough. They'll say they got to change the cadence. They'll say there's no need to make a guy do a push-up. There's no need to yell at a guy. There's no need to hold anyone accountable. Because it's the New York Jets babysitting club. It's the New York Jets cookie club. Jets head coaches are giving out Girl Scout cookies at practice. Good job. You caught a ball. Good job. Penalty after penalty, turnover after turnover, an inept first half. And yes, they scored a touchdown to make it a game, but for a majority of the first half, you felt this game was over. They looked atrocious in the first half. This game was 17-0 in the second quarter. And luckily, the Jets' final drive, they finally decide to score a touchdown to Allen Lazard, who, by the way, has got to stop with the drops. It's out of control with these drops with Allen Lazard. I mean, how often is this guy going to drop easy passes? Rodgers had a couple in his breadbasket. And you got to make the deal for Devontae Adams now. He's not going to save the Jets. He won't overcome the terrible coaching that they have. But I'm sick and tired of seeing Allen Lazard continue to drop balls. And I'm sick and tired of seeing this Jets offense give Rodgers no time. And then for Rodgers, he wasn't good. Listen, the offensive line was bad, but Rodgers made a couple of bad decisions. And that last play, pretty apropos, pretty fitting that the game ends in an interception. His third of the day. And when Aaron Rodgers has to throw it 54 times, you're in trouble. This Jets run game has now become non-existent. A guy who was fighting, and he said, I want to be the best running back in the league. Breece Hall, 9 for 23. Braylon Allen, 5 for 13. 14 for 36 on the ground for the New York Jets. They have no run game. You can't win football games without any threat of a rushing attack. 54 attempts. And the Jets caught a break. Aaron Jones gets hurt in the first half, doesn't come back. All they got to do is beat Sam Darnold and Ty Chandler. And for the most part, they contained Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's stat line today looked like when he was on the Jets. 14 of 31, 179, that one interception, and he was sacked 4 times. Both quarterbacks getting hurt in this game and coming right back in. Except Mullins had a huge completion on the one play he came in for 24 yards. 1 for 24. Rodgers gets hurt. You thought his season might be over or he'd be out. The next play is a roughing the punter. He comes back in before he could even go into the blue tent. And we thought, you know what? Can Rodgers have his Willis Reed moment here? Is Rodgers going to come back in this game and lead the Jets to a triumphant victory in London and come back to America 3-2 with a big game against the Bills? No, of course not. Once again, the Jets tripping over themselves. 8 penalties, 76 yards. The Vikings, once again, another team that tried to hand the game on a silver platter to the Jets. That's back-to-back weeks. Teams gave the Jets the game, and the Jets didn't want it. 11 penalties for 80. The Vikings somehow, more penalties, more yards from these penalties than the Jets, and the Jets still could not win this game. 5 for 17 on third down. Don't even get me started on fourth down. 4th and 2, a run up the middle. Can this offense lack any more creativity? Malachi Corley healthy and active because he's too complex a player for Nathaniel Hackett to think of plays for him. Let's just be honest. There's a reason Nathaniel Hackett didn't last an entire season as 1 year as a head coach for the Denver Broncos. Broncos fans will tell us all about how bad it was with Nathaniel Hackett. It's sickening, man. It is truly sickening to see this football team get us all excited before the season, get us all thinking what this season could be, only to look like utter crap. They suck. There's too much talent on these Jets for them to be this bad. I'm sorry. There's just too much talent here. How does this keep happening? And I don't want to hear from the Zach Wilson truthers of, see, this is what Zach dealt with. I get what Zach dealt with. Zach didn't have any talent. There's a reason he's not even a backup quarterback in this league anymore. Rodgers has regressed. The playbook, like I said, cat in the hat. Even the motions the Jets use are like from 1997. They have no guy go across the field. There's nothing creative with this Jets offense, and it's sickening to watch. And for a majority of this game, this team stunk. Allen Lazard, 4 drops today, including a touchdown. Sauce Gardner, a dropped interception. Aaron Rodgers, 3 interceptions, including a pick 6. And hey, that pick 6, shocker, difference in the football game. 23-17 game. Jets win if there's no pick 6. Now, obviously, things change, scenarios change, but there's the difference. Rodgers made some horrible decisions. He was mad at his receivers, and it might be a sign of desperation, but the Jets can't let this season slip away. You could argue, say, oh, it's over, but it's not actually over, but it can be if this continues to happen, if the penalties continue to happen, if this offensive line continues to leave Rodgers nearly killed out on the field. You got to go get Devontae. He's not going to fix their problems, but he will fix Allen Lazard getting all the targets that he does to only drop 4 balls. You can't drop 4 balls in one football game. You just can't do it. But here's the problem. It ain't going to change with this coaching staff. They've given us all the excuses. They're bad. They're bad coaches, period. And I found it laughable that they made a big deal about Robert Saleh in the quarterback room in the meetings this week. Has he never done that before? Has this coach never been in an offensive meeting room before? Believe me, it looks like it, but it's almost hard to believe it's true. It took until now for him to start paying attention at all to the offense. Not shocking for a horrible head coach like Robert Saleh. Not shocking for an atrocious offensive coordinator like Nathaniel Hackett. Sam Darnold beat him today, and he didn't really beat him himself. It was his defense and it was team that did it. And Stephon Gilmore beat the Jets. Beat him with the Pats. Beat him with the Bills. Now beating them with the Minnesota Vikings. With the interception. That last play. Another horrible throw from Rodgers, and he is not in sync with Mike Williams. There were a few times he thought he would have Mike Williams, and nothing was there. Mike Williams had barely even turned around before Rodgers got rid of that ball. Rodgers should have chucked it up there, man. What is he doing? Putting that ball in Stephon Gilmore's breadbasket. A little bit higher of a throw, Mike Williams might get that ball, or it's incomplete and you live to see another play. Instead, the game ends. Man, this team is tiring. Thank God for my New York Mets. And I'm going to Philly. I'm going to Citizens Bank Park now for the game because I need some positivity. As Joe Flacco, by the way, throws a touchdown pass. Oh, why does it happen year after year? And why do we, myself and everyone else, fall into the trap of them making us believe? And I'm not saying firing the coaching staff is going to make the Jets a Super Bowl team, but this coaching staff is utterly atrocious. And they got the excuses of wait for Rodgers, wait for Rodgers. Well, Rodgers is here, and it's not making any difference. We're still seeing the same old horrible offensive football. Garrett Wilson tried to put the team on his back today, 13 for 101 and a touchdown, but it wasn't enough. This team just is really, really bad. And the season is slipping away. 2-3 with the Jets' daunting schedule that they have is not pretty. Next up, you have the Buffalo Bills, Monday Night Football come to town, and then Sunday night in Pittsburgh. This team could be 2-5. If you lose at home to Buffalo next week, I think the Pittsburgh game, a loss would end Robert Saleh and hopefully Nathaniel Hackett's Jets tenure. Unfortunately, I'd be a bit surprised to see if Woody and crew and Joe Douglas ended. I think they're all going down together, and Joe Douglas will join them with the pink slip if the season ends and they're still here. But you can't let this season slip away. This window with Aaron Rodgers was too short to just let it all slip away. It really is. Don't let it happen. Please do not let it happen. Utter pain. Hackett is Rodgers' guy. Will he turn on him? There's a lot of times this team gets to the huddle, then gets to the line so late that it either leads to a delay of game or they're rushing to snap the football. There is no sense of urgency with this football team. The amount of no huddles they do is alarming because it's so little. They don't rush to the line. They take their sweet ass time and they suck it up. When you have a horrible head coach that holds no one accountable and an offensive coordinator with a playbook that was written in crayon by kindergarten kids, it's nap time. And all the Jets offense does is go to sleep. They take a nap, and I grade them an F on their report card. But they ain't getting home again spanked. They're getting hugged by their head coach because he's not accountable for anything. In a firing season, in a season he gets the pink slip, he doesn't do anything different. It's the same old song with this horrible coaching staff. And you're seeing it handed on to the players. Bad coaching, bad playing. They go hand in hand. It's Bonnie and Clyde and peanut butter and jelly. Horrible coaching, horrible playing. That's not math. That's difficult to anyone. And it's not going to change till the coaches change. Fire their asses. We've watched the same offensive football. It's offensive to watch this offense. They showed life late, but it wasn't enough. And I'm sorry, that last drive, I didn't have confidence that there was going to be Rodgers magic and he would lead them to victory. I just didn't have the confidence. How could you? Sauce came back in this game. Luckily, he might be okay. Another game, the Jets really could have used C.J. Mosley. Defense, after the rough start, solid, I think, in the second half. Not good enough, but good enough to win the game. You know, the takeaway, the pick six. They gave a field goal, a C.J. Ham touchdown, and 2 more field goals. You should win when your defense does that. The Jets defense gave them enough of a winning effort today that you got to find a way to win. But 17 points ain't going to get it done, baby. It ain't going to get it done. This team is just so depressing. We're only 5 games into the season. And I always like to say it can't get any worse, but it can. You also got to remember a couple decisions in this game that made a big difference. Remember I mentioned that 4th and 2 play call and how just utterly atrocious it was. I thought it was going to be 4th and 1, 4th and inches. They called it 4th and 2. Once I saw 4th and 2, I'm like, you should probably kick the field goal here. I thought it was shorter, but they called it 4th and 2. Once it was 4th and 2, I did not think it made a lot of sense there. And that played the difference end of the game. You know, you're going for a touchdown now at the end. If you're going for a field goal, that might have been played differently. Maybe we're in overtime right now. But that 4th and 2, just handoff up the middle. I mean, oh, how creative. Creative is not in the dictionary of Nathaniel Hackett and this Jets offense. It's just not. And because they take so long to get to the line, you can say, oh, I just have Rodgers audible every time. Well, the time they get to the line, they can't put guys in motion. Like in the end there were like 5 on the play clock. The time they get to the line, you got to snap it. And they get to the 7 on a first and goal of a delayed game. Like, good God, that can't happen. I don't know. The bag of goods we were sold on Rodgers had a caveat, and it was the coaching staff, and it's bad. And I'm not saying it's all on the coaches. Rodgers stunk today too. But it goes across the board. Just imagine if this Jets offense had someone like Kyle Shanahan. I think it would look a lot different. And I think these last 2 games, the Jets 100% win. This is a 2-3 football team. They should be 4-1. They had plenty of shots today, and they lost. Last week, you know the story. That you can't lose that game. And a 4-1 team is now 2-3. But a win is a win is a win is a win. A loss is a loss is a loss is a loss. There's no moral victories. The record shows who they are and what they are, 2-3, and they're a bad football team. And I'm sick and tired of saying it. I'm sick and tired of hearing what they have on paper. Because with all the injuries right now, on paper, it's not very good. They don't put enough pressure on the quarterback. I know they sacked Darnold 4 times today, but they do not put enough pressure on the quarterback. And I'm not blaming the defense today, but they lack talent in certain areas. Devontae Adams, they lack some talent receiver. They could use Devontae Adams from Allen Lazard and all his drops. Tyler Conklin and Garrett Wilson balled out. No one else did anything. Breece Hall has not been good as a receiver the last few weeks. That was his bread and butter. He's been terrible on the ground. The run game's been terrible. The offensive line has been terrible. I barely mentioned them. The cohesion is not there on that offensive line since Olu Fashanu stepped in. I don't think he's played terrible, but the unit as a whole, there's been no cohesion. And I don't know how Rodgers came back in. I thought he was done for a few weeks when his knees got buckled up on that, that play where he left the game and then the roughing the punter and then he runs back in before he goes in the blue tent. I thought he was done for the day after that. He came back in, give credit to him, but one of these hits is going to leave him done for the year and done for his Jets career. And what could have been a hopeful Aaron Rodgers run could immediately become the Jets looking for their next franchise quarterback. Same old Jets. Well, I'm going to go somewhere now and be happy and watch my favorite team. I like them more than the Jets. That's the New York Mets. They've given us Mets-Jets fans a reason to smile during their magical run, and you could catch us on the Mets Magic podcast later, but I'm going to head to that ballpark. If I don't make it out alive, you won't hear Mets Magic or Jets Flight Club ever again. Who knows with those fans? I'll try not to celebrate too loud if the Mets do win. I got to be careful. But, next week is going to be a very difficult game. I know you're home and it's a Monday night, but how do you go to MetLife Stadium with any form of excitement next Monday? Like, how do you consider dropping good money to go see this team right now? Oh, I get to see Rodgers again. And what? The offense do nothing? Back-to-back weeks since the Patriot game, they've only regressed. Last week, we know the story. It was awful. They couldn't put the ball in the end zone. First goal from the 1, 4 plays, they couldn't put the ball in the end zone. Today, they put the ball in the end zone, but are we supposed to give them a round of applause for that? A touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson for a yard and Allen Lazard catching a ball for a touchdown? Are we supposed to get excited about that? This team is not fun to watch, and I hope it changes quick. I don't think anyone's getting fired on the way back to London. I tweeted, don't let Hackett or Saleh get on the flight back, but I don't see the Jets doing it. I don't see them having the balls to fire coaching staff this early. I think Jets fans would celebrate, but I just don't see it coming. But if things don't change this week, this Jets season, which had the hope of a playoff team, can quickly become another year of ineptitude, another year of no playoffs. And Rodgers, it's just not sustainable. The offensive line keeps him on the ground for that many times. 9 sacks, 21 hits the last 8 quarters. He's making good throws. He is making plays, but the guy is beat up out there, and he will not last physically for the Jets. Smash that thumbs up. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Subscribe to the Jets Flight Club YouTube page. Subscribe to mine at Jake Brown Radio. Follow me at Jake Brown Radio. Eric Coleman will be back this week as we preview that Monday night Jets-Bills game on Thursday. So look out for a new podcast with potentially a special guest on Thursday. But until then, the Jets lose today in London, 23-17 to the Vikings. They fall to 2-3, and we might have another horrible season ahead. But I'll leave you with this. It is 2-3. The Jets have 12 games remaining. The story has not been written yet. We expect it to be written in the same old Jets fashion, but there is still time to change things. There is still time to win football games. So the doom and gloom is there for sure because this team has been unwatchable the last 2 weeks. But it is a long 17-game season, and there still is time. But the time is now, and it begins this week getting ready for the Buffalo Bills, who are a very difficult opponent coming to MetLife Stadium. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching the Jets Flight Club podcast. We'll talk to you Thursday.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Jets Fight Club on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.